Welcome back to Ways Learning, and what are we doing today?
We're learning how to engrave a Yeti cooler lid with a CNC routing machine.
Yeah, this is Gavin Woodard. He's got a engraving company, and anyway, what are we gonna put on this?
Power Cat, big Power Cat logo today.
Yeah, purple Yeti. What else goes better than a Power Cat? So we're gonna take this and turn it into this.
The first thing we're gonna do is take the lid off, and there's 2 pins here, one on both sides. We're just gonna pry these pins out of here.
You just got a flat blade?
Yep, just a flat head. Nothing special. Pry it out a little bit without tearing the cooler up, preferably.
Oh no, they're bear proof.
No, they bear proof, not Woodard proof. There's one. There's number 2. So we need to measure, obviously, how big of an area we have to engrave on, and we plug that into the computer. So we've got 15 and an 1/8 by 24 and a half. So we'll plug that into our computer for our design stage, and that's how big we'll make our Power Cat.
What's the dollar for?
Pulling the machine to the cooler lid. My table's not flat, and I have to shim up the cooler to make it as flat as possible. But I level the machine to the cooler.
Gets it close to the door. Yeah.
So that it engraves level across your cooler lid. So we leveled the cooler, made some homemade shims here to make it flat so that it doesn't wobble when the machine goes over it. And I leveled the cooler to the frame using a very scientific method with a dollar bill. You move the router to the corner and move these up and down to make it level. Do it for all 4 corners. Come back to the middle to find our start point in the middle, and we're going to go ahead and hit start, and hopefully that it runs.
And how deep you can
0.1 of an inch, so that's under 1/8 of an inch. So it's not very deep, but it doesn't need to be very deep for it to show.
Do you do it deeper if you're going to put epoxy in it?
No, because you really can't tell the depth when you fill it with epoxy. So you're just putting more epoxy in when you make it deeper. So we've got our finished cooler here. We had one small minor mishap, but it's okay because it's in the middle, and that'll get filled with epoxy and you'll never know about it. But here we're just gonna sand all the leftover parts behind. Something kind of fine just to not mess up the edge of your cooler, or you can take your hand into it as I'm doing here. So you're just rubbing off the excess cooler part there. Another good thing about doing it this way is once you get one of them set up, you just change out the lid, re-home your machine to the middle, and you hit go again, and your setup time's really cut in half once you have one of them set up and going. Yeah.
How long is it? This ran for 15 minutes?
Yep, this one ran for just under 15 minutes. As you can tell, it's a pretty good sized logo in my opinion for a cooler. Bigger, it's going to take a little bit longer. If it's a smaller cooler, it'll go a little bit quicker. Last night I did a a Husker sign for my roommate. Same concept out there, making it level, whatnot, on the table. And then come in here, have these little shims to make this level when you go to fill it with epoxy. So this isn't quite done yet. I gotta sand it down, and we'll get rid of all that kind of run over. It'll be real smooth and flat on top. So we're gonna make sure it's level when we go to do our epoxy. It's level this way. Not level there. Make sure it's level by the bubble in the middle.
You just got some shims
Yep.
sliding in.
Yep. Slide it in till it's level.
And then you have a little sign to put down to tell everybody not to touch it and move it.
No, but I should get one. Get a security guard maybe.
Yeah. All right, so now we're gonna mix the epoxy and then put it in.
Yep. So here we have our epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy that you add together. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio. No real scientific method. I just put 2 cups next to each other, pour them out, make sure they're equal and 1-to-1. I don't know how much to pour. I just pour until I think I have enough to fill my design. I got quite a bit to fill there, so I'm gonna pour a little bit more than I normally would. And then the real part is stirring for quite some time. You gotta stir for like 8 minutes for both of them to get everything mixed together. And then we add our color at the end before we pour. So here we're just stirring like this, no signs, just stir for 10 or so minutes. And the way you'll know it's ready is you can feel the heat coming off of the cup. And it'll heat up in your hand. So we're gonna add our color, the white, add any colors. You can see over here we have different colors. Just spray paint, just spray a little bit in here. Don't inhale it, preferably. Just mix it in.
So you mixed it for 8, sprayed it. Now how long are you gonna mix it?
Just a little bit to get the white kind of mixed into everything. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to make the color, add the color in there. We're just gonna pour our epoxy. It's self-leveling, so just fill it up and move it around as you go. There's not a whole lot to it. But.
How long does it take to set up? So like how long of work time do you have?
You have quite a while, but it needs 48 hours to cure. But obviously the quicker the better.
Do you have to use a heat gun to get the bubbles out?
Yeah, we'll use a heat gun at the end, and it'll dry out all the bubbles, and it'll make a smooth finish on it.
But you can just do one section, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter. You can go back and add epoxy on top of it. So you'd rather, I guess, have too little than too much.
So it takes 48 hours to cure, but how long of work time, like before it sets up, where like if you had to run to the store, you'd be hosed?
You're kind of out of, once you pour it, you're kind of out of, you have about 10 or 20 minutes maybe, but you can add coats on top of it to make your epoxy go farther. We're just taking a heat gun. As you can see here, there's a bunch of bubbles, and the heat will draw out the bubbles on them. You can kind of see it already pulling the bubbles out, and it'll bring them to the top. Just kind of hold about 8 inches away from it, go back and forth. If you don't have a heat gun, you can use like a torch. Just make sure you're not burning it, and that'll give you a nice smooth finish on top for the cooler.
So here Gavin's just adding purple paint to the epoxy, and he's going in and streaking it to kind of give it a colored crayon look, or a kind of a camo look with the purple. They actually have shirts that people sell at K-State that look like that. Yeah, Gavin's just doing these Wildcats for family. They were actually making apple butter, and so he was just making these cooler lids kind of as a way to practice and as a nice little gift to give his family for free. So this next one, the second cooler he did, he just literally etched it, the Power Cat, into the lid, so it just gives it kind of an embossed look to it, which was super cool. His cousin was super excited about it. Then the third one that he did is probably my favorite. It's a smaller Yeti cooler.
Love it.
He just simply engraved the power cat in it, and then he came back and added purple epoxy, and then came back with the heat gun to make sure he got all the bubbles out that and got it cured. But I'll put a email or website for Gavin if you want to reach out to him to see if he can personalize your Yeti lid for you on your cooler. He can't do the Wildcat or the Huskers. He simply did those for friends, but he can do company logos or really anything you can creatively come up with. He can do. So give him a follow. I'll try to hook you up with him, either email or his website. But they are amazing and super cool way to modify your Yeti cooler that no one else will have. Woodard Mercantile here in Wichita is actually a Yeti distributor, so it's also possible if you wanted to order a brand new Yeti with your logo on it, that could probably be arranged as well. So I'll put the Woodard Mercantile website on there as well. A special thanks to Gavin Woodard for sharing that skill, and thanks for watching.